In today's gear, we're going to talk about traveling with LiPo batteries, what to prepare for, and some of the situations that we faced in the past, because we do travel with batteries a lot. And we'll cover a few things that we find handy to have ready when you have to have conversation with different airline employees and the TSA folks and all that. So, where would you look when traveling with LiPo batteries?
In order to know what
to do.
Well, you should first go to the TSA website.
TSA website. Okay, Transportation Security Administration, and they have all the rules there. So we kind of did it for you guys. I'm going to put a link to the TSA website, and this is in US. In other countries, because we do have international listeners, the rules are in general very similar, but do check in your particular country and actually down to your particular airline. I've seen
there are different airline rules too.
Yeah. Here in the US, it's the TSA website. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to this. That's the latest info. And I would recommend printing them out, actually, prior to going. Because if somebody's telling you different than the rules are at the airport, you can at least save a PDF or save the link to your cell phone, make it easily accessible for you. I'm old-fashioned. I like paper. I don't want to just rely on electronic device and look in different links. It looks, I don't know, to me more official.
Well, especially the amount of times my phone battery dies.
Yeah. So
especially at the airport.
So it's good to have these rules. It's also, while we're talking about printing stuff, this is not just related to batteries, but the airline's best kept secret, little segue to this, is the media rate. Have you ever used it?
No.
Okay, so that's airline's best kept secret. They have what they call a media rate, and you can actually exceed the weight and maximum dimensions on your baggage for $50. And you can go up to 75 or 100 pounds. Look at what the rule is for each airline. But if you're traveling with a large drone case, you're definitely, that's something you want to look at, because I've had trips where this saved us $400 each way.
Yeah.
Paying extra for the large drone cases versus getting the media rate and just slipping in through that way. But do Google it. The best way to go about it is to, if you're flying Southwest, just Google Southwest media rate, because those things, you can't even find it on their websites. They're buried. And print that too. All you need is either an ID. So if you make, we have a little company IDs, or even a business card in most cases. You just present it. But 4 out of 5 cases, I literally had to pull out a paper with the airline's policy, because the person at the counter, they didn't even know. They're like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And they were kind of dismissive. I'm like, well, it's your own rules. So I have everything that I need. I'm media. And then they had to call over the manager, blah, 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 so to get me in. But it's the cheapest way to travel.
Yeah,
there are size limits, but it's it could be pretty excessive, actually.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the bill that I got from San Francisco's trip.
Yeah. So print out the TSA LiPo rules and print out the media rate policy for your particular airline. When you're looking at the TSA rules, what you're going to find is they divvy up batteries or classify the batteries by watt hours. And watt hours is the amount of energy, really, that's stored in the battery. You can take any amount of batteries with you up to 100 watt hours, as long as they're on your carry-on. So any spare uninstalled batteries you have to carry on with you. You cannot check them in. Please don't check in your LiPo batteries.
Don't do it.
It's dangerous. There's been cases where people have done that. Actually, there was one case in Australia a couple of years ago when somebody undeclared large, a heavy lift LiPo batteries, and they caught on fire. Luckily, the airplane was still on tarmac, so they were able to deal with the fire. We've all seen LiPo fires, and I can imagine that would be devastating in an airplane. You may wonder, what about a battery in my controller, right? And that's considered an installed battery. So just like any other electronic device, you are allowed to check the battery in. One could argue, if I take a Phantom battery and I slide it into the Phantom, now it's installed, right? I would still say I wouldn't do it because it's still dangerous LiPo battery, and I leave the drones traveling empty, and I leave the batteries in the controller. Actually,
can we just clarify just for a second for the people that might not know a lot about this? It's not inherently dangerous just by the fact that it's down below the plane. Yeah, it's if it catches fire. Yeah, there's no way to get to put it out when you're in the air. That's why it has to be carried on.
Yeah, totally. It will take down the airplane. It can get punctured. Stuff can happen with them. Yeah, don't take chances.
No.
When you pack the batteries, you are required by TSA to pack them in a way that they cannot be punctured. Carry-ons are usually computer cases, backpacks, and things of that nature. Backpack is not really the best way to go, just to shove your batteries into the backpack. If you're going to do that, do some harder case and then put them in a backpack, or at least I would recommend back in the old RC hobby days, and I'm sure they still sell them, the LiPo battery pouches. So they at least contain the fire, and you can slide a bunch of batteries in a pouch and then roll it up and put that in your backpack at least. Either way, do pack in a way that in no way the batteries can get compromised by puncturing a corner of one, puncturing the other, or anything else in your backpack, puncturing them. Ideally, I carry a hard case. We have a Pelican cases that fit as a carry-on, and I use one of those customizable foam inserts where I left little spaces in between the batteries and I load it up. The unfortunate side effect is that this thing really looks interesting under the X-ray when it comes on the belt.
Yeah, it does.
But it keeps the batteries safe. So a little bit about how to calculate the watt hours. A lot of drone manufacturers actually design batteries with that in mind. Let's say your Phantom, the Phantom 4 battery, or any of the Phantom batteries are just under 100 watt hours. They're like 99.98 or whatever. It's really close. And if you think about it, even the Inspire batteries, the TB50s now for the Inspire and the M210, one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons they went for 2 battery packs is now your watt hours on a single battery pack are under 100. And that one is like 95 or 97, 98.
Otherwise, you'd be looking at about 180.
Yeah.
To 200.
For both, 200, and you would be, so would you, good point. So under 100 watt hours, that's why now you can carry as many of the Inspire batteries as you could. Before that, you could, the TB47s, remember for the Inspire one? They were just under, and then the TB48s were actually over 100 watt hours. What happens if they're over 100 watt hours? You can actually carry 2 of them. Two batteries that are over 100 watt hours.
But I believe it's up to 160.
Up to 160, yeah. See, that's one of the advantages of, say, traveling with one of the few advantages of the M600, because it does have a lot of limitations. But when you're traveling with that, you're using TB47s, right? So you have them split up. Versus flying with other heavy lifters, that some of the batteries, like the 22,000 or 16,000 milliamp 6S packs, they could be 300-400 watt hours, and you literally have to pre-ship them ground. If you're going, so you should pre-ship them ground.
Yeah.
Some airlines will allow that. I know that people do fly with these packs. They're like big bricks of lithium.
They're huge.
Yeah, I would be really careful about flying with them. So we pre-ship. Once you get to the airport, the TSA may ask you, hey, what is this? Be ready for that. So account for some time, especially if you have them in a separate case, because they always open, they'll always swab them. If you're traveling with a large drone case, it may not actually fit through their X-ray, so it may have to be searched. One thing I would also recommend, if you're traveling, especially on a commercial shoot, try not to plan to fly out like the day of the shoot. Because especially if you have a connecting flight. With the large cases, it never fails. 3 out of 4 times your equipment will not make it to your destination on the same plane with you.
Oh, definitely.
If they have to, it's a special handling for large cases, and it always gets, no, I'm not going to say forgotten, but it's just not, they're not that good at it. I've had times where my stuff would show up, somebody would drop it off at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, like the day of the shoot, which was the next day after I flew in. So I always give myself a reserve with this. All right. That is about it for flying with the LiPo batteries. You guys let us know if you have any questions or comments about this. You can leave them at our blog or our YouTube channel. And we will be right back after this.